All right, everybody, we're back. Brand new Friday review. Can't wait to get into today's show. I've got some great research for you, especially if you're one of those people that just simply can't find the time to exercise during the week, what you can do in the weekend, and actually what it adds up to is pretty impressive. We'll be going over that, a study on Omega-6s and really how detrimental they are to blood oxygen to your brain and your body. Maybe one or more of the reasons that you may be suffering from, or someone that you know is suffering from brain fog. So we'll talk about that. A CGM, a continuous glucose monitor that is purported to last 5 years. How amazing would that be, right? Without having to switch out a new CGM, a new monitor every 2 weeks. We'll check that out as well. But before we get into today's show, I always love to do a recap as we're starting the new year. Hopefully, I can share with you. Hopefully, I'm one of the first people to share with you that I hope you have an amazing, a happy and healthy 2026, that this is one of your best years yet, that this is the year that not only do you set the goals, but you truly go after them. And you also prioritize the goals that make the most sense and will make the biggest difference in your life for you and your loved ones, and obviously all of those that you serve. So I wish you all the best in this new year, and I want you to truly enjoy the happiest and healthiest of years. All right, let's get into today's show. If you missed any of our previous shows over the last week, which maybe you did, I mean, there was a lot going on over the holidays, but over on Monday's show, we had the new and improved 12-week year plan. Please don't miss that show. That was episode 3615. That takes the 12-week year plan, which I think is amazing, and it allows you to make it simpler and gives you the actual PDF this year, a one-pager that you can print out and say, this year is my year. This year, I'm going to follow this simple guide, and I'm going to make sure that I follow the 3 steps in the guide in order to achieve my biggest priority, my biggest goal over the next 12 weeks. Check that out. That was episode 3615. On Tuesday's show, we went over, does cupping really work? You probably heard about cupping before. You've probably seen maybe the black and blue looking things, right? The hematomas on people's backs and the circles. While we can actually go over the research and really good unbiased research as to what cupping was helpful for and what it didn't necessarily improve. That was Tuesday. On Wednesday's show, we went over, if you have thick ankles or swollen ankles, check out this show. I give you 7 specific strategies that will help to move that lymphatic flow, move that stagnant fluid from the ankles, help them return back some of that more of their natural-based form. All right, check out that show. And then yesterday, we went over how to add just an extra 14 years. Technically, it was 12.2 to 14 years to your life and your health span. Pretty phenomenal. And that was literally 4 different things, 4 things that you have to do, not optional, have to do it. Check them out. That was episode 3618. Today's episode 3619. For today's show notes, research studies, head on over to stephencabral.com/3619. All right, let's dive into it. It almost seems too good to be true, right? A continuous glucose monitor that actually lasts 5 years. So I've been a proponent of CGMs for a long time. Before they were mainstream, meaning before you could just get them online, you had to always have a doctor's prescription. And since I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a doctor of naturopathy, I just can't write a prescription for myself or anybody else for a CGM. So I'd have to talk to my colleagues and I'm like, hey, could you get me a CGM? And they're like, sure, what do you want? Back then it was typically always the Dexcom. And I was like, great, we'll do Dexcom. And so I would use it, but it was a whole big thing. The apps didn't work the same. It was just not that good, honestly. Then over the last 5 years, CGMs have exploded. Whether you're working with Levels or NutriSense or Thea, so many good brands out there, right? I've been recommending lately the Stello simply because it's so inexpensive. It's literally $99 a month for a CGM. I think that's a pretty phenomenal deal, to be truthful. And you don't need to wear it all the time. You wear it 2 weeks. You test out different things in your diet on different days because your blood sugar can actually react differently to the foods you're eating based on the day, based on your stress, based on your movement, based on your sleep. I mean, truthfully, our bodies are not static, right? And so I think it's a good thing to do. But as you know, It's not painful at all, but you need to order the device, and then you just press the device onto your skin, whether it's your tricep or beside your navel. I just wear mine beside my navel because it's easier for one exercise. My sleeves don't rub up against the back of that CGM. But again, like you do, it works for you. Most people put it in the back of their arm, and that's probably the best spot to put it. Okay, so having said that, it's just cumbersome, meaning like you have to get a new device, mailed to you every 2 weeks. A new company that debuted at one of the consumer electronics shows in Europe, I believe. They're a European-based country, but they're trying to get FDA approval. If they do, it is the smallest CGM I've ever seen. It's about the size of a thumbnail, like literally the top of your thumb, and it's super thin as well. So I still like to wear like a circular Band-Aid over it. They come specific for CGMs, and that way I can easily get it wet. But this one, no issues with water resistant, waterproof, I guess, down to 20 feet or 20 meters. I mean, I know there's a huge difference, 20 feet versus 60 feet. But regardless, most people aren't going down 60 feet underwater. Most people are going down 20 feet underwater, truthfully, right? Unless you're, doing some intense snorkeling or scuba diving or, deep diving to get down 20 feet. But regardless, this one is a really innovative one. And here's the thing. Every 2 weeks, it runs out like the rest of them. But what you do is you simply plug it into a charger, a USB charger, like you would for any other like USB-based device. That's it. Literally just pops right in. And so you give it a couple hours charge, and then it's good for another 2 weeks. And all I'm sure they're going to do is have you switch out is the little hair-like needle. I mean, there's no way to put it, but you don't feel it as to what goes into the body that actually looks at your glucose. But I'll tell you, one of the things about the Stelo is that it's very accurate, but it doesn't have a lot of highs and lows to it. Meaning the lowest it goes to is 70. So you don't really know how hypoglycemic you're going. And for someone like myself, who's more prone to hypoglycemia, I like to see those things. This one, actually, I think the data on it that I had goes from 40 milligrams per deciliter to 500 milligrams a deciliter. So the sweet spot for your blood sugar is really between like 70 and 120, we'll say right around there. It is okay if your blood sugar goes up to 140 after a meal. Honestly, a lot of people will say that it's not okay. It is. The reason, so like what's not okay is elevated blood sugar throughout the day. Total time in range has been found to be one of the most reliable and important numbers for blood sugar. That's why intermittent fasting is so helpful and much more. So if your blood sugar goes up to 140 after a meal and it comes back down within 2 to 3 hours and it's back in normal zone, and ideally that normal zone is 75 to 95 when you're not eating, that's a great place to be. But anyway, I could go on and on about that. I'm just excited to see things like this start to enter the market. I truly believe everyone's going to be wearing a CGM. Well, people that are into their health will be wearing a CGM-like device that won't just be testing for blood sugar. It'll be looking at cortisol spikes. It'll be looking at neurotransmitters. It'll be looking at all sorts of things, maybe even like CRP. And it will give us feedback on our phone through the Bluetooth there, which, by the way, you can turn off the Bluetooth too. And that will tell you and give you data points throughout your day. I personally look forward to that. I don't necessarily want to, inject anything under my skin or anything like that I can not take out myself. But if I want to take the CGM off or turn off the Bluetooth anytime, I can do that. So I'm all for being able to test your data. Again, you don't want to overdo Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all that. I totally get it. But this data can be life-changing. It really can, because you want to make sure that you're keeping balanced blood sugar for the majority of the day. All right. So look for that to come. It's called Free2 CGM, and the website is called RighTest.com. RIGH, and then the word test.com. All right. European company trying to get FDA approval, might see it in the US over the next 12 months. All right, before we get to our research, I just wanted to share with you, I've said it a couple of times, I'll say it really quickly again. I thank our community so much. It was so unbelievable, even to today, to see Personomics continue to be a bestseller across all three categories that I got entered into. So thank you so much. But that isn't the reason I'm bringing it up on today's show. The reason is that there are so many great resources for you that are all free inside of that book. Read the book, click on the resources page. We're always adding more, like now just the 12-week year plan. And also the master classes are now live. They are published. It is 10 videos. Whether you purchase the book or not, they are yours. It's all free, and it walks you through how to have your best and healthiest year yet. It's exactly what we do in our practice, and you can do it with any practice. It doesn't have to be our practice. You can literally work with any practitioner this way, but this is the way to completely optimize your health. And if you're not already healthy, how to return your body back to a state of health, regardless of what dis-ease you have and regardless of what medical doctors said that you can and cannot accomplish. Check it out. It's literally all free. Go to Personomics.io. Just click on the masterclass, enter your name. That's it. It's completely free. You'll get all 10 videos. They're only about 6 minutes long, so you'll finish it in about 30 minutes maximum. All right, check it out there. And then also, Kindle's out now. Audiobook is out now. I know many people subscribe for Kindle and they get like a bunch of free books every month. You can get it free just on Kindle. You can do that. And then any purchase of the paperback or hardcover. So the limited edition hardcover is here. If people love a hardcover, there it is. Paperback, any order also gets the audiobook free. Just go to Personomics.io/book. Simply enter your purchase, whether it was the paperback, hardcover, and you get the free audiobook. So if you like to listen to audiobook, there you have it. All right, everybody, let's move on now to our research for the week. Here we go. First one, and this is not the greatest one, right? I like to end positive, so we're going to start a little negative, but there's even positive to this one. This was based on a study published in Frontiers in Nutrition, published out of the University of Birmingham in the UK, and it found that when subjects who ate a fatty meal, in this case, keep in mind, it was croissants, before participating in stressful events, took longer to recover from the stress response. Keep this in mind for a moment. Let's see what else. Restriction to the blood vessels and decreases in blood oxygen levels lasted for more than 90 minutes after the stressful event. A second study showed that eating fruits and veggies completely prevented the vascular impairment associated with stressful situations. Short-term, making healthy food choices prevents these performance-reducing physiological changes. Long-term, such choices help you avoid the serious health problems associated with chronic exposure to stress. Okay, what does all of this mean? Well, I had to break down this research a little further and find out the food they were actually eating, because you would say, oh, all high-fat meals would then cause a poor response to stress. But in this case, all we can extrapolate is that it's high omega-6 type foods. So it named it specifically, in quotations, buttery croissants. So potentially saturated fat, we know that it does increase lipopolysaccharides, which increases oxidative stress and inflammation in individuals, especially if you're overweight. If you're not overweight, it usually finds that the stress response is not as great from lipopolysaccharides. I should actually say, yes, from the bacteria from lipopolysaccharides. Okay, so the second, just called endotoxins. I have a whole podcast on endotoxins. If you've never heard about it, it's literally one of the biggest things that nobody talks about is endotoxins. You can research that at stephencabral.com/podcast. But here's the other thing. It does not say that a high omega-3 meal would cause this reduction in stress response. So basically, okay, you have the buttery croissant or you have the fatty food, whatever it might be, and it does not allow you to recover from that stress as quickly. That's a big deal. Actually, it drops your oxygen in your blood too. Not ideal. So here's the issue, is that omega-3s, such as, let's call it like tuna. I know there's mercury in tuna, but maybe it's salmon or sardines or mackerel, etc. Or maybe it's olive oil, or maybe it's avocado, which are higher in omega-3s. If you ate those, would you still have the higher stress response, poor response to stress? My answer would probably be no. Why? That's because those are anti-inflammatory. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, where omega-6s lean more towards pro-inflammatory. So what I would also say is this, and it would be interesting because I bet you can blunt a lot of those negatives, inflammatory ones from the buttery croissant, by having a cup of wild blueberries or cacao or matcha tea or any raspberries, blackberries, cherries, any of those with that. I think it would actually help to balance it out. Now, Do I recommend eating buttery croissants every day? I highly don't recommend that, right? That's definitely not good for your health, no matter how you slice it. Okay, so what I would say though is if you're out for breakfast and you have a nice buttery croissant, try to have some fresh berries with it. That is absolutely going to help. Or if you have some avocado, that should help as well. I know it's more fat. I would personally lean more towards those berries because we know for sure that's going to blunt it. All right, fruits and veggies, always okay. Anybody who tells you that they're not, I don't know. They might have a hidden agenda. It seems very strange by now that people are still against brightly colored fruits and veggies. All right. Next, we've got a nice positive study here. I love this one. And I've got a couple of one or two caveats at the end for you, though. All right. So this is for weekend warrior workouts. What's a weekend warrior? It's basically individuals who go hard with their exercise and maybe activities on the weekend, but they don't do much Monday through Friday. So on Saturday, they might play pickleball and go to the gym. And then on Sunday, they go for a run. And it's kind of like making up for lost time, right? Monday through Friday. Totally get it. Some people, they wake up, they're getting the kids ready for school, then they go off to work, then they're cooking dinner. Like there's no time to exercise. Totally get it. I totally understand. Not coming down on anybody. Life is life. I totally get it. All right. We just have to do our best. So here's what the study said. Doctors recommend at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for a total of 150 minutes. That's been like that for decades now. It's really tried and true science. That's moderate level activity, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's the ideal. It really is the ideal. Okay, let's move on though. All right, so moderate to vigorous exercise, 150 minutes. The weekend warrior pattern though was associated with lower risks for atrial fibrillation, myocardial infarction, heart failure, stroke, similar to the same numbers of minus to moderate vigorous activity spread out over the week. All right, so here's what this is a summary of the study. I'll tell you what the exact study was. They essentially looked at the 150 minutes, which really only needs to be like zone 2 level cardio. So nothing strenuous. It would be like a brisk walk or doing some light cardio or like moderate weight training that got your heart rate up. All right, amazing, right? Then they compared though, what if you did the 75 minutes or so, about half that on the weekend, but you did it more vigorously. And they actually saw you got pretty close to the same benefits. Not the same, but pretty close to the same benefits, even though the 2 days were together. So that's newer because they did show previously that if you did like 2 high-intensity interval training workouts at 75 minutes total, it would equal the 150 minutes, but they had to be high intensity. So heart rate's up, you're doing a boot camp, you're doing whatever it is. I'm not saying that it's always the best longevity-wise for your joints and all that, but they showed cardiovascular-wise, it absolutely had the same efficacy. So I'd love to see that. Now, with the weekend warrior, they actually looked at it. What if it was 2 days back to back and you're still getting those benefits? So there have been negatives in the past about the weekend warrior workouts. And that is because with 5 days of inactivity, the older you get, the greater chance then for potential heart attacks and other issues like that. So here's though what you can do. You can actually ease into it for 10 to 15 minutes. So whatever your workout is, if you give yourself a 10 to 15 minute warm up of dynamic exercises, light zone 2 cardio, you're going to be far less likely to get injured or do any vascular based damage. All right. So that's caveat number 1. That's what I recommend. If you can just do the weekends, ease into it. But caveat number 2 is this, and I've shared this with many of my clients. I work with literally people that fly, like they literally are flying 3 times a week. They're all over the place, massive travel, massive stress, executives, celebrities, et cetera, et cetera. So I say this is what I'm looking for. Your weekends are more normal. Your Monday through Friday is not. I have individuals that fly back and forth from New York every single day, like just madness. So here's what I want to share with you though. I asked them, get in just a 20 to 30 minute workout on a Wednesday. So the real workouts are going to take place on the weekend, but I want one workout on a Wednesday. That's it. So it can be done after work hours. It can be work at lunch. It can be during the morning. It's not going to be super stressful. You're not going to be sweating a lot. But I'm looking for 30 minutes there. And the reason I'm looking for 30 minutes is then we don't have 5 days of inactivity because I'm worried that they're literally going to blow out an artery on the weekend when they just like get after it playing squash and paddle or padel or everything else that they're doing, right? So I just like, I would say like, let's only have 48 hours Monday and Tuesday off, 48 hours Thursday, Friday off. We still get a Wednesday in, and now we don't have any more ever than 2 days off in a row. So this has been very successful for them. And it then makes it far less dangerous going all out on the weekend. Because it's not like you're doing light workouts on the weekend to catch up to the same benefits. You need to kind of go, not all out, but you need to really push it vigorously. It's called vigorous-based workouts, moderate to vigorous, in order to get the same benefits. So that's what I always share with them. And it's worked really well in my practice now. I've been doing that now for over 20 years with these clients. And the research has pretty much stayed steady. Honestly, it really has. So you just have to be careful on the weekends if that's when you get in your major workouts. Ramp up, ease into it a little bit more, and whenever possible, get in that Wednesday workout for just 20 to 30 minutes. Nothing big. It could be a little bit of weight training, a little bit of cardio. It could just be I just have them do a circuit, honestly. It's 5 exercises in a row. They repeat it 3 times total. That's the whole workout. They're in and out in 30 minutes. They love it. Keeps them in shape. They actually get much better results doing that on a Wednesday in addition to their weekend, because now they're not going 5 days without really touching the body in terms of, working on decreasing adipose tissue, but improving overall hypertrophy and just even neural stimulation from the nervous system to the muscles. So that's what we work on. It's very successful. And so that's why I wanted to share it with you. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you're ever looking for good workouts, published the book 15, 16 years ago, still holds true today. It's called A Man's Guide to Muscle and Strength. Not just for men, it's for women too. You can find it on Amazon. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Have an amazing rest of the day. I'll talk with you soon.